Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how I set up the forms to add concrete to my patio slab. I'm going to be redoing this whole side yard area here, but the first step is getting the concrete poured for this patio. There's a bit of a drop in the corner that I'll have to work through later on in the video. First I brought out my 2x4s just to give me an idea of where I'm going to be pouring. When I first set these up, I just did the area that the concrete's going to be going in. Later on in the video, you'll see that I dig out where the 2x4s are going to be going, but I just wanted to get an idea of what the concrete would look like and get a straight line with the 2x4s. Then I took some old stakes and wrapped some construction line around them to give me a guide as to where I needed to dig out. Once I had that in, I was able to start digging. I was trying to make this as budget friendly as I could, so I did everything by hand. There used to be a bush in this area here, and there was a ton of roots and rocks that I was fighting through, so I actually went on Facebook Marketplace and bought an axe and a pickaxe that helped me get through some of those roots. I don't think I would have been able to do this project without those tools. If you were wanting to spend a little bit more money and not break your back, you could get a cultivator or a tiller, up to an even mini excavator, but I didn't go that route. It was a little bit more work on my end, but it worked out fine. I dug down about 5 inches, or at least that was the goal, 1 inch for the sand base that I was going to be using, and then 4 inches for the concrete slab. I used the current concrete slab that was there as a guide since that was a 4-inch slab itself, so that worked out well to have that just to be able to eyeball it. Then I brought out the 2x4s that I was going to be using to build the forms and set those up right where I needed them. I put these at about 35 inches on the outside of the 2x4. I was really worried about things moving around on me, so you'll see that I measure quite a few times just to make sure everything's perfectly where I want it. After I got those where I wanted them, I marked a line as to where I would need to dig out to put the 2x4s in to make the forms. I didn't realize it at the time, but I dug a little bit too far down, especially in the corner since there's such a drop, so you'll see me add quite a bit of backfill in. I'll be adding some more of that dirt that I have down in the yard so there's not such a drop when I add in the new concrete too. Then I dug out where the 2x4s were going to go. This would have been a lot easier if I would have had a square nose shovel, but I didn't want to get one just for this project, so I made do with my round nose shovel that I had. Once I had everything right at 35 inches on the outside of the 2x4, I started adding my stakes in. I just used a 2x4 and cut those down for the stakes, but you can buy them as well. I actually got these 2x4s because they're redoing the porches in my neighborhood, and they said I could take the old 2x4s out from the post. They were nice and straight, so it worked out great for this project. You'll see that the 2x4s that I got weren't long enough for the forms that I needed to make, so I just took a scrap piece of wood and connected them in the back to make them the size that I needed them to be. And like I said, I dug too far down in that corner piece, so I used some scrap pieces of wood to get the form at the height that I needed. And then I'll add backfill in once I take those scrap pieces of wood out. I wanted about a 1/2 inch drop from where the current slab is to the corner of the new concrete so the rain would drain off. I checked this a bunch of times as well because I was concerned about the boards moving around on me. Once I had everything where I wanted it, I got the boards screwed into the stakes. Make sure you cut off the tops of your stakes once you get them attached so you can screed across them and make sure everything is level when you're pouring the concrete. You can see through this process that I checked the level over and over and over just because I wanted to make sure I had that 1/2 inch drop and it stayed where I needed it to be. The ground was pretty wet from all the rain we were getting, so it was really soft and things were moving around a little. Once I had both sides right where I wanted them, I connected those together. I put quite a few stakes in just to keep things right in place where I wanted them to be. Once I had everything attached, I took those scrap pieces out and started to add the backfill in. It's important to backfill so the concrete doesn't come out from under your forms. I tamp things in quite a bit as I move along. I put a lot of dirt under the forms to make sure they didn't move around, and I tamped them down as much as I possibly could throughout the whole project. The dirt was pretty compacted to start with, and I don't think it's always necessary to compact down the dirt, but I really wanted everything to have a lot of support, especially under those forms, because I just didn't want them shifting and getting out of that half-inch drop that I'd set up. This is a pretty low traffic area, so we went with sand as the base, but if you're going to be doing something like a driveway, you'll want to use gravel as your base for more support. We tamped down the sand and got it to about 1 inch. I used some rocks that I threw in a bucket from when I was digging out this area and put those in the corner just to provide some extra support. I actually got that tamper on Facebook Marketplace from the same person that I got the axe and the pickaxe from. He made it himself and welded it together, but you could also get an electric compactor to do this part as well if you want to do that. It was pretty heavy to work with this tamper, but it worked out fine for this project. Then once the sand was tamped in, I cut down the expansion joint to size. Then I wiped down the forms because we've been getting a ton of rain and there was mud all over them. We added oil to the forms so the concrete didn't stick to them. We used vegetable oil and it worked just fine, but it seems like you can use any oil you have on hand. You want to make sure you have everything as prepped and ready to go as possible, because once you start pouring, you need to keep moving as quickly as you can so the concrete doesn't set up on you. You'll want to wet the sand before you start pouring so the concrete adheres better. We've been getting so much rain that the sand was already kind of damp, so I didn't add too much water. Then you should be ready to start pouring your concrete.